Welcome, everyone. Today, we're going to dive deep into a book that, and I'm not exaggerating, has literally changed millions of lives. The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. If you've ever felt completely swamped by anxiety about what's coming next, or maybe you're stuck replaying things from the past over and over, well, then you're in exactly the right place. Let's jump right into the one idea that started this whole revolution.
So, right here on the screen is the quote that everything else is built on. Realize deeply that the present moment is all you ever have. Now, I know, it sounds so simple, right? Almost obvious. But really, truly getting this and living by it, that's the giant leap. That's the whole journey. Because this moment, right now, it's the only time that's real. It's the only place where your life is actually happening.
So, to really get a handle on the power of now, we first have to understand the trap that almost all of us are stuck in, and we don't even know it. Tolle has a name for it: the tyranny of time. And just to be clear, he's not talking about clock time, he's talking about the imaginary time our own minds cook up. This slide just lays it out so clearly. Think of it as two different worlds you can live in. Over on the left, we have psychological time. That's where most of us hang out, right? We're either regretting the past or getting anxious about the future. It's just a mental story we tell ourselves, and it's the source of pretty much all our stress. But then look at the right, the now. Tolle says this is it. This is the only thing that's real, the eternal present. And that's where you find all your clarity, all your peace. So here's the first huge takeaway. The big problem is that we live our lives lost in that illusion on the left, and we completely miss the reality on the right, which, again, is the only place life is actually happening. Okay, so if the problem is getting lost in the past and future, what's driving it? What's the engine behind all this mental time travel? Well, Tolle's answer is that it's not what's happening around you, it's what's happening inside you. It's your own mind.
And this next quote is a real game changer. The primary cause of unhappiness is never the situation, but your thoughts about it. Just let that sink in for a second. This is a massive shift in how we see things. It's saying that our suffering, our stress, our anxiety, all of it doesn't come from the events in our lives. It comes from our interpretation of those events. Our thoughts literally create the emotional world we live in.
Which brings us to this simple but profound statement. Your thoughts are not reality. They are just thoughts. The whole secret is to learn to see your thoughts for what they are. They're just little mental events. They're like clouds floating through the sky. They come and they go. They are not solid facts, and you don't have to believe them or become them. The real you is the one watching the thoughts. So the big question is, how do you actually do that? How do you become the watcher instead of getting swept away by the river of your thinking? Well, luckily, Tolle gives us a super practical 4-step method. First up, step 1 is to witness. This just means you start noticing your thoughts as they pop up. No judgment, no getting tangled up in them, just watch. Next is step 2, label. When you notice a thought, you can just mentally say, thinking. That one little word creates some space. It helps you see you're not the thought. Then, step 3 is to find the gaps. This is cool. As you keep watching, you'll notice these tiny moments of quiet between thoughts. Put your attention there. And finally, step 4, hear the silence. Because underneath all that mental noise, there's always a deep, peaceful stillness. That's who you really are. Think of it like a workout for your awareness. It's how you train yourself to quiet the mind.
And something really amazing happens when you start watching your thoughts like this. You start to see the machine that makes them. Tolle calls this the ego, and as the slide says, it's the false self, a mind-made sense of identity based on external things and past conditioning. Now, when he says ego, he doesn't just mean being arrogant or cocky. He's talking about the part of us that's constantly looking for an identity in things outside of ourselves, just to feel real.
And here's a look at what that ego usually latches onto. You've got your possessions, your job, your social status, your degrees, how you look, your personal story, I'm the person this happened to, and even bigger things like your nationality or religion. But here's the absolute crucial insight from Tolle. None of this is actually you. Not really. These are all just temporary forms. The real you is the awareness that sees all of this. And letting go of these attachments, that's the key to real freedom. Okay, so we're starting to see how the mind and the ego create so much suffering by constantly judging and resisting everything. Once you see that, the way out becomes pretty clear. It's not about fighting reality. It's about a complete shift in how you relate to it. And this quote right here introduces that new path. The pain that you create now is always some form of non-acceptance,
some form of unconscious resistance to what is. I mean, think about being stuck in traffic. The traffic itself is just traffic. It's a neutral fact. The suffering, the anger, the frustration that comes from your mind screaming, I shouldn't be in traffic, that resistance, that is the pain. The traffic itself is not the pain.
This slide just lays out the choice we have in every single moment so perfectly. On the left, there's resistance. It's like trying to push a giant boulder up a hill. It's a constant, exhausting struggle that just creates more suffering and wastes so much energy. But then on the right, you have acceptance. Think of it like floating down a river. It doesn't mean you just give up. It means you're working with the current of life. It dissolves pain, brings clarity, and aligns you with reality. And that leads us to this incredibly powerful idea from Tolle. Whatever the present moment contains, accept it as if you had chosen it. Always work with it, not against it. Now, this is what he calls radical acceptance. And it's so important to get this right. It does not mean you just become a doormat or that you have to like a bad situation. It just means you stop wasting your precious energy fighting what is so that you can then act wisely and clearly from a place of peace. And why would you do this? Well, the practical, real-world benefits are just huge. I mean, look at this list. When you accept what is, you're not fighting through that emotional fog of resistance anymore. So what happens? You get reduced stress and anxiety, way more mental clarity, and you become much more emotionally resilient. You actually become a better problem solver because you're starting from a place of calm and power. Acceptance isn't defeat, it's a superpower. So, what actually happens when we start putting all this together? When we start watching our minds, letting go of the ego, and accepting the present moment? Well, we start to operate from a completely different level of consciousness, and it changes, well, pretty much everything. I absolutely love this metaphor. It's one of the most memorable in the whole book. You are the sky. The clouds are what happens, what comes and goes. Your true self, your essence, is like that huge, open, peaceful sky. It's always there. And your thoughts, your emotions, the events of your life, they're just clouds passing through. They aren't you. And when you identify with the sky instead of the weather, you find this incredibly deep, unshakable peace. And this isn't just some abstract philosophical idea. It has a massive impact on your day-to-day life. As it says here, being present changes everything. When you're truly present with people, you actually listen, you connect. Your relationships get so much deeper. And even boring stuff, like doing the dishes, can become this rich, meditative experience when you give it your full attention. You start to find joy in the simple act of doing, instead of always rushing to the next thing. This then leads to the idea of surrender. Now, the word surrender can sound a little scary, but in this context, it has nothing to do with weakness or giving up. As you can see, surrender means giving up the need to understand or control everything, becoming comfortable with not knowing. It's about letting go of that tight, anxious, ego-driven grip on life and just trusting the flow of the present moment. It's actually a place of incredible wisdom. So the big question is, how do we get better at all this? Because it doesn't just happen overnight. You need tools, you need a practice, and that's where mindfulness comes in. Things like meditating, or even just taking a second to focus on your breath, or feeling the aliveness in your hands. These are the exercises that build up your presence muscle. They're how you train yourself, moment by moment, to come back home to the now. And so as we start to wrap this up, I want to leave you with one final, very powerful question from the book to just sit with. Beyond all the mental chatter, beyond your life story, beyond every label you've ever given yourself, who would you be without your thoughts? So if this journey into the present moment has sparked something in you, I really, really encourage you to go deeper with Eckhart Tolle's book, The Power of Now. It's one of those books you can read over and over and get something new every single time. We've dropped a link to it in the description below if you want to check it out. Thank you so much for joining me today.